This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.
Sunday morning, let's go to Chautauqua County and Senator George Borrello. Now, how did I do that time?
You did great, actually. Chautauqua County, you hit it the first time.
All right. Now, give us an update. What's going on in Western New York and upstate New York? And you know, you've always been so good at reporting on that.
Well, thank you very much. And look, this is what I want to talk about today impacts, I think, everyone in New York State. So we're hearing from the governor and from many people in the state legislature that we're going to have an on-time budget. You know, our budgets have been plagued by not being timely the last several years. In fact, Governor Hochul has yet to have an on-time budget since she has been governor. But this year, because it's an election year for her and others, they're saying, oh, no worries, we're going to have an on-time budget. However, I'm a little skeptical of that, John. Right now, we are seeing a setup between the governor, who is understanding that the radical climate policy and the disjointed energy policy that New York has right now is on a collision course with the people of New York State, and she understands that. She's had her her surrogates out there talking about the fact that we do need reliable baseload energy. We need reliable forms of energy like natural gas and propane and nuclear. Meanwhile, my Democrat colleagues are saying we want nothing but wind and solar, and we've seen the impact of that. So the governor's in this dangerous game of energy musical chairs. We keep taking seats away, keep taking energy away, and she's going to be the one left without that seat if she's not careful. So I think what's going to happen in this budget now is we are going to set up a battle essentially between the governor and her desperation to get reelected, who realizes that we have to have energy, and my Democrat colleagues who want to live in this fantasy world that they're going to somehow be able to keep the lights on in New York State with just wind and solar. So I think that's the battle that could end up, once again, pushing our budget out and making it a late state budget again.
Unbelievable. What parts of the state budget did you worry most about? By the way, I made a mistake last week that 260 and 127 is $400 billion, not $300 billion.
Yeah. Well, that's the part that bothers me, John, that here we are. The governor proposed another record-breaking budget, $260 billion that she has proposed. And then I know for a fact that my Democrat colleagues are going to up that number even further. They're going to up the ante. They like to play with the numbers. You know, you and I are business people. You have to make accurate predictions as to what you think your revenue is going to be based on what you know. But instead, they kind of throw that out the door in the state legislature and make up the numbers themselves. And unfortunately, that never really works out. And that's the process that we're in right now. We will see what are referred to as the one-house budgets next week. This is where the New York State Senate and the New York State Assembly put out their versions of the budget. And these are documents that are essentially where we're going to see a lot of policy in those budgets. We're going to see them essentially push back against the governor's all canceling of the all-electric building mandate. Well, not canceling, but actually just delaying it, at least to get it through the next election. We're going to see them double down on things like higher energy prices. We had a debate today on the fact that the Democrats passed a bill today that would essentially prohibit propane delivery companies from actually line iteming the cost of the cap and tax, the cost of the taxes and the climate laws, how that impacts people's cost of propane. And this is the case. You know, my Democrat colleagues like to say, green energy is cheaper and it's so much cheaper per kilowatt hour. But meanwhile, they have prohibited utility companies and other companies that are impacted negatively by the cost of that climate law from actually line iteming it on our bill. So we, the people of New York State, could actually see how much every month it costs us to comply with the Democrats' radical climate policy. So that's the collision course we're on right now. People right now in my district are complaining every day. The electric bill that used to be $200 a month is now $500 a month.
I had dinner with Governor Pataki the other night, and he's got a farm upstate with cows or whatever, and his normal bill was $500 a month or something like that, or $800 a month. All of a sudden, last month he got a bill for $5,000.
Yeah, it's outrageous. It's happening. And again, my Democrat colleagues want to blame greedy corporations, and they want to talk about, other things that are unrelated to the truth. The truth is, all of the infrastructure that it costs, that it takes to hook up all of these wind and solar projects around upstate New York, all that expensive infrastructure to hook it into the grid is paid for by the ratepayers. And it's hidden in the delivery charges. And I saw essentially that the cost of the climate mandate, for every dollar that you pay in an electric bill, 38 cents of it is just to cover the cost of New York State Democrats' climate policies. So that's 38% of your bill is essentially covering for their radical climate goals. So, and it happened today. Out of one side of their mouth,
listen,
they're saying, no.
Senator, I wouldn't mind so much if those climate goals were really proficient. But somebody conned those people, and the people that signed on to those climate goals were not smart enough to realize they were being conned.
Amen. These folks are not in the energy business. They're in the government subsidy business, and they are con artists. All these wind and solar folks that show up, at a farmer's door, they're paying for it with our taxpayer dollars. There's no profit in these industrial scale wind and solar projects. The only profit comes from taxpayer subsidies, and that's how they're making profit. And those folks that are out there, the climate alarmists, they're the useful idiots for these con artists. That include, by the way, the enemies of the United States, like China, that is profiting hugely off of these ridiculous climate goals here in New York and other blue states. They are the ones profiting at our expense. So essentially, we are taking our taxpayer dollars, and in the end, it's ending up in the pockets of the Chinese Communist Party in places like the Congo, where they use slave labor and child labor to mine the rare earth materials that go into these wind and solar materials. This is what it has become. It is essentially laundering taxpayer money into the hands of the enemies of the United States with the useful idiots of the climate alarmists that are supporting it.
Senator George Borrello from Chautauqua County, thank you so much for calling in this Sunday morning.
Thank you.
Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.